Hi and welcome. In this video, I will show you 3 methods of deploying motion templates for Final Cut Pro 10 in a work group. So you're not working by yourself and everyone should be using the same motion templates. I will show you 3 different methods to do that. But first, a sip of my homemade matcha latte. Absolutely delicious. I think I gave up on coffee and I'm totally into matcha right now. It's absolutely delicious. But let's start with the first method, which is to sync a motion templates folder that is in remote location to the motion templates that is on your computer. So here I have my motion templates folder. It's not really 12 gigabytes, or it shouldn't be, because I deleted a lot of things from it. I think I have still a few titles here that are a little too big. So let me get rid of those titles just for this example. I'm gonna make them, okay, I'm gonna get rid of the big ones. Now I have a 4 gigabyte, I have a 1.19 gigabyte motion templates folder. And the first method here is really to match it to a cloud folder. In my case, I use Bias Cloud, which is my own cloud based on Synology servers. And what I will do is I will create a motion templates folder in my cloud here. So I'm going to create that folder. Now, I'm stopping right here because there is one thing that is very important about those motion template folders. They need to have an extension that's .localized. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So I will not create through here, and instead I will create through my SMB share. So I'm going to just mount my home folder, and here I will create the motion templates folder for me to synchronize. .localized and enter. Can get rid of this other untitled here. And you see that immediately the folder loses that localized extension, but still there, okay? Now I will basically sync. So I'm gonna use my Synology drive, which is right here, settings, and I'm gonna create a new sync. I will choose inside my home folder, I'm going to choose motion templates localized, and I will point it to my motion templates localized, that is in my movies folder. I will unsync I will not create this Synology drive folder. I don't need it. And then click on done. And now my Synology drive is uploading those files to my Synology. So if I take a look now, here it is, the files are starting to appear. My Synology drive is basically processing that. There's thousands of files there, so it's gonna take a little while, but soon enough, they're gonna all be there. So here it is, everything is starting to come. Now, once you need to put this in a different computer, you're going to do exactly the same. You're going to go there and sync that folder, and whatever someone changes on their computer on any of those motion templates or creates a new motion template, that gets synced up to your cloud and then down to your client. Now, you're not going to be able to do that with Google Drive, for example, maybe with Dropbox, but basically, the main thing here is that I am pairing one-to-one those folders. Now, with my second method, you might be able to use Google Drive or Dropbox, but the most common scenarios in which they are used is with a shared storage or with Link, which is basically shared storage as well. So a little bit more of matcha. Just delicious. Right now, my motion templates are being synchronized, okay? Actually, they already finished synchronizing. So if I take a look here in my folders, my titles, there it is. This is what is in the cloud right now. They're all there. And if I do a change here on my computer, they will be reflected. But now let's take a look at scenario number 2. Scenario number 2 is we don't have this folder here, and that folder exists on a shared storage. So what I will do here is I will delete this folder. It no longer exists. But it exists, for example, here on this shared storage, this home shared storage. And of course, for you to deploy this to a lot of people, you need to make sure that everyone has access to the same shared storage folder. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated, but it's pretty easy. Only very few steps to follow. So step number 1, identify the folder that you want to have. So this is the folder. At the moment it says 0 bytes, but we know that it has everything there. I will open Final Cut here real quick just to show you what happens if I don't have a motion templates folder on my Finder, on my movies folder, and I open Final Cut. If I come here and I open this in Motion and I save as a new title, for sure it will appear there. So let's open that. And now I'm gonna save as a test inside 3D. So then I certainly have now my motion templates folder, and it has my 3D template here. So this method now assumes that you don't get that folder there. Let me close Final Cut. Now we open Terminal, and the command is very simple. ln-s. That's it. That is to create a new Symlink. And now you're going to say which folder it is that you want to create a Symlink for. Motion template. So you do a spacebar there. You drag your original motion templates folder, which is the one in the shared storage. You're going to see that there is already a space in between there. And then you're going to now drag the movies folder. So go to your user account folder and drag movies to terminal. So now we have create a Symlink of this folder inside of this folder. So now if we go back to movies here, we're going to see that once I hit enter, now I have a Symlink of motion templates that goes into that shared storage. So if I look here, it's inside that shared storage. Now, if I open Final Cut, let's give it a moment here for it to open. And as we wait for Final Cut to open, it's totally worth mentioning this. Final Cut now will open as fast as you can read data from that shared storage. So if you're in a spinning disk shared storage, that may take longer than it would in your local SSD. Reason why you might want to go with method number 1 of syncing, because then you're reading from your local SSD. In my case here, my shared storage, not even in my network it is. This shared storage is in the cloud. So currently, if you remember from the method number 1, my folder had over 1,700 files. So right now, Final Cut is trying to read 1,700 files out of the shared storage that is not even in my network. So if I wanted that to be fast, that shared storage would be an SSD-based shared storage locally. All right, now with Final Cut open, I can see here that I have my motion templates that are now in that shared storage, and I can see them here. One of them, it was from Alex 4T, and a couple of them are custom to the NAB coverage that I was doing. So this is method number 2. You're reading with the Symlink from shared storage. And of course, I said that this is a little complicated because you're using terminal. Imagine if you need to do this in 100 computers. Well, you don't need to do that in 100 computers with terminal. All you can do is to open Automator. I'm going to open Automator here real quick. I'm going to create a new document, and that document will be an application. And that application, we just need to write here run shell script, and then we drag that there. And all we're going to do is the same command, ln-s, and I'm going to copy that from terminal. And this is the address of the first folder. Okay, and the second folder will be ~movies. That's it. And now I can save this as deploy motion templates. And I'm going to save on my desktop, for example. Saved it on my desktop. I'm gonna close terminal. I will go into my movies folder. I will delete that Symlink. Okay, and then I'm gonna click on deploy motion templates, and then voila, you have your motion templates deployed. Now, of course, there is one scenario here in which this is not going to work exactly like I showed you, is if the person already has a motion templates folder there. So we want to add another command before that, which would be to remove a directory, and that directory would be movies motion \templates dot localized, and save that. Now I can try to execute. I'm not 100% sure if the -d is uppercase or lowercase, but we're going to discover now. So what we should see is basically that is appearing very, very quickly and reappearing. And there it is. It disappeared and reappeared, so that works. So now that Automator will work on any computer. It's going to delete the currently existing motion templates folder, and it's going to create then the Symlink for the one in your shared storage. All you need to do is to make sure that this is the address to your shared storage. So it will be volumes for sure. Then this is going to be the name of the shared storage folder, and then the path to this folder here. Pretty simple. Now, the third method is the method that I like the most. I'm going to delete this folder here again. PostSync. PostSync, it's absolutely fantastic. It's meant for deployment of many computers that have access to the same shared storage, but it deploys all of that information locally on the computer, so you're not reading from the shared storage, which I think it's ideal. And what is the most impressive thing about this is here. The amount of settings that it has, amazing, of course, but it will auto-mount the shared storage. It will give you options to synchronize things for Final Cut, compressor, logic. There are extra settings for Command Post and Color Finale. There is Adobe Premiere Pro, Media Encoder, After Effects, Blackmagic DaVinci for effects, custom LUTs, and keyboard presets, and a few other applications. For example, Handbrake, FFWorks, Edit Ready, Red CineX Pro, and it can synchronize your fonts. How amazing is that? Now, I know this is now the moment that you're super interested about this. So let's show you a couple of things. First of all, you can set that once you open the application, it auto starts and auto quit. So you open the application, it does the sync, and it automatically goes away. That's great. Second thing is you can select what it will do once it opens and starts syncing. Connect the shares, synchronize, clean up files, launch applications. You're going to give a name to your workstation, and at some point here, you're going to select if this workstation is the main workstation where everything is coming from, or if this is a workstation that is receiving information, or if it's a workstation that will be syncing bidirectionally, okay? So let's say that you are in a work group in which everyone is reading from the same motion templates, but there is one person that is responsible for creating new motion templates. Everyone is going to have a replicate setting that it's basically here, a replica setting, and that one person will have the primary setting or a bidirectional setting. Okay, so in my case here, I will synchronize everything for Final Cut, okay, and for compressor. And this includes motion templates. Now, if you don't want to always be syncing everything, you can just click this SS here, right next to it, and say, hey, just bring me everything that is in the hub to this workstation. So for example, right now I have no motion templates at all, okay? And my motion templates is in my editorial, and this is my editorial here. My motion template is 30 gigabytes. For the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to use that. For the purposes of this demo, what I will do is I will get these motion templates that are in my home folder that were much smaller, right? What, 700 megabytes apparently, with 1,700 files or something like this. Yeah, more than 2,000 files. That's why Final Cut was taking quite a while there to open, but it's 1.19 gigabytes. What I will do is I'm going to use this one as the source of motion templates that will go to a central place, and then use PostSync on another computer to get that information, okay? Now, on my Final Cut, I'm not only using motion templates that are custom. I have custom LUTs, I have fonts, and so on and so forth. So these are all the things that we're gonna do. So on PostSync, the first thing that I need to do here is to decide where everything is gonna be stored. So on my home here, which is where my original motion templates are, I'm going to create here a PostSync folder. It can be named whatever you want. And this is the folder that I will point to. So home and then PostSync and select. So now my computer is set to that folder. I'm setting this computer to be the primary, so it's going to be the source of truth. Okay. Now let's go into settings, and what do I want it to do? Here in connections, I will add the address of my server. Then I'm going to put here what's the share name. So the share name in this case here for me is just home, all lowercase. The protocol that will be used is SMB for this one. And I can now add the username and password and save. All right, so that means that it will automatically mount that shared storage, okay? So I already have all my motion templates copied locally. I will eject all of this. And what I want to synchronize, basically everything. Synchronize everything, okay? I don't use anything from Adobe. From Blackmagic, I don't have anything special. And I do use this application, so I'm going to leave them there. I'm not using any cleanup here at the moment. I don't need to open any application right after that. I just want it to sync. Close this. Now perform all actions. Yes, I want you to perform all actions. And now this is going to mount my home. So one thing that I forget about it is that my home folder that I had selected there doesn't really have all the permissions that I would require to do this. So I changed it to my PivotCast folder. Okay, so I created a PostSync folder here inside PivotCast, and that's now the folder that we're going to use for PostSync. So I can start perform all actions, click yes. Now it's going to check everything and it's going to start writing those files. So here it is creating those files. It's copying things from Final Cut. So command sets, workspace, effects, motion templates, custom LUTs, fonts, everything is going to come here. And obviously this will all depend on what speed to my shared storage I have. But the impressive thing is that it just works. So this computer that I'm showing you right now is the primary computer, so it's not receiving anything from that shared storage. All the other ones that are going to be marked as replica, they will receive. So while this is copying there, let's go to a different computer. I'm going to go to my other Mac Mini here. Okay, with my Mac Mini open, I'm going to zoom into here now. I will take a look first of all what I have on this computer. I have a motion templates folder that has some 2 gigabytes there. You know what? I'm going to get rid of it because I don't know exactly what is there. I will open Final Cut Pro and I'll take a look at what custom LUTs I have there at the moment, which probably shouldn't be any, but you know what? I use PostSync on that computer, so there could be some. So let's create here a quick library. In Untitled inside my downloads folder. Let me create a new project and get something there. So these are only the stuff that is already included here. And I'm going to look for custom LUT. And what are my custom LUTs? Well, I don't have any custom LUT on this computer at the moment, right? So I'm going to close this Final Cut and I will mount. So now I have my PivotCast folder mounted and the PostSync folder is being populated at the moment. I will open PostSync on this computer. And for example, I am using version 1.5 on my MacBook Pro. So, and I have version 1.1 on this Mac Mini. So it's important to update that. So if you look for PostSync ROI, you're going to get to Chris Roy Films, where he has, Chris Roy is who created this application. I'm going to download that, update, unzip, quit this one, and replace my version 1.1 with the version 1.5. Open that. Okay. And there we have it. Now I will choose where the synchronization hub is in my PivotCast folder, and inside PostSync, select folder. I want this to be a replica. In the settings, I want to auto quit is one of the things that I have selected on this one, so it closes automatically. You're going to see that very soon. I have here my connections. Synchronize, I want to synchronize everything that was on the other one, so that's basically it. Let's take a look now at what's the progress here with my MacBook Pro. It's almost done. It's almost finished copying that 1.19 gigabytes of my motion templates folder. Now it will move to the next steps in the synchronization, which is the files for compressor. Now my compressor has a lot of different settings, so you can see them appearing here. The ones from Final Cut here, you have camera LUTs, you have custom LUTs, you have 3 gigabytes of custom LUTs there. All of these are going to be deployed on the other computers that are using PostSync. So I'm going to close now this folder. Now it's copying my fonts. I will already go forward and start the sync of the second computer as soon as this one ends. And like I said, it's going to be a replica. We didn't have any custom LUTs on this Mac Mini before. We don't have, at the moment, any of the motion templates. I'm going to make sure here that we don't have any. Let's delete the folder. And let's start that sync. Perform all. Yes. It's going to look for that folder, PivotCast PostSync. It found it, and now it's going to start synchronizing. Everything that's not there, it's going to be skipped. So just DaVinci, After Effects, and Premiere Pro, and the other things are going to be copied. And we can see here, it's copying. Meanwhile, the sync on the MacBook Pro just finished, and I can quit that application. Now, the Mac Mini has 3-point-something gigabytes of LUTs to copy, and it has a lot of motion templates also to copy. If we go and take a look here, we don't have yet the motion templates folder because at the moment is doing the work with the camera and custom LUTs. So if I were to open Final Cut right as soon as this part here ends, I would have all of that already. Now let's fast forward this process. Okay, give it access to my documents folder. There it is, it's finished. And let's take a look here at what happened. I have an error with my motion templates. Sometimes you're gonna see this happening. So maybe it was too big or something like this. It's easy to figure out. We can come here to the settings, synchronize, and say, hey, synchronize just the motion templates from the hub to this workstation and do yes, copy everything. So now it's going to do the synchronization. Notice source folders not found, app not installed. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to have to open probably Final Cut. And if Final Cut opens and it doesn't create the motion templates folder for you, you can always create a new folder, motion templates.localized. Close this, hide Final Cut. Now trigger again the sync. And of course, you shouldn't have Final Cut open while trying to do that. So let's try again. It's going through everything. It's checking. You see that everything that hasn't changed, that it already has, it skips very quickly. Now it's doing the motion templates. Let's take a look how that is going. Yeah, now it's copying. It just needed to have the motion templates folder existing already. It doesn't create the folder itself. It would be nice if Chris would add that logic there on the application that, hey, if the folder doesn't exist, create it. Similar to what I did with Automator. That is, hey, first check if the folder exists and remove it, and then create a Symlink. Okay, so it's copying everything, copied very fast, 1.19 gigabytes, right? There it is. I can now quit the application and open Final Cut. And now let's verify what we've got here. First of all, we have the titles. I have my NAB titles that were there on my original computer. If I open here and take a look at my custom LUTs, Now I can see all of them are appearing here. So pretty easy to just get that done. Now, what happens if at some point, let's say this computer here that's meant just to be a replica decides to create a motion template. So for example, if I come here and get this, my little bugs here, and open in motion, and oh, I don't have motion on this computer. Never mind. So let me do that on the Finder level, okay? I will come to motion, templates, titles, NAB 2023, and this one here that says test. Let's say if I create a test v2 and I need to deploy this to everyone else, how do I do? Well, that's very simple. You're gonna open PostSync. Let me close Final Cut. And with PostSync, you go into the settings and then synchronize, and then motion templates, click the synchronization button, and then you say, hey, this workstation to the sync hub. This would delete something from the hub in case it doesn't exist on this computer. Might not be the ideal scenario. So since this computer is already synced and we just want to add things, you could do a bidirectional sync. That means that it really gets whatever is in the server, puts in this computer, whatever is in this computer, puts in the server, but doesn't delete anything. So there it is. 3 files were copied successfully. Now, if I come to my MacBook Pro now, let's minimize this. If I come to my MacBook Pro now, go into that PostSync folder and take a look at the motion templates folder that's there, titles, NAB, I'm going to see that test v2. And that test v2 doesn't exist at the moment on my local computer here, right? So I'm going to open PostSync the same way. And then I'm going to settings, synchronize, motion template, synchronize, and I will say, hey, bidirectional. I want to get what's new in the hub. It's going to synchronize. It's checking. I'm going to move these things here over to the side. And then we're going to see that test v2 folder appearing here very soon. There it is, test v2. And this doesn't save that sync bidirectional to the main application. It's just a one-time sync. So it continues to be the main source of truth, this application. So in sum, I know that was a little bit complicated. Maybe I spoke too much. Maybe I should make a separate video about PostSync for you. But basically it's 3 methods. One, you sync your motion templates folder with a online resource. In my case, Knowledge Drive, I point to motion templates in 2 different places. Now, of course, to the motion templates in my folder, and they synchronize. There you go. And everyone else from your workgroup can do the same. Second one, you create a Symlink from the shared storage to your computer, and voila. The problem is you're going to be reading a lot of motion templates from the shared storage, and if your shared storage isn't very fast, and I'm not talking about sequential read and write fast, I'm talking about random access read and write, which is mainly bad with spinning disks and mainly good in SSDs, then, well, you need to have high performance on that for you to have a good experience. And last but not least, PostSync, an absolutely excellent application that goes above and beyond just synchronizing motion templates. It's going to synchronize everything that you use on your Final Cut. And when I say everything, it's even shared destinations. So for example, if you have custom shared destinations with custom settings, compressor settings, they all get synced and saved in that central place. So I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and like this video. And I guess I see you in the next one. And apologies for the super long video. Bye-bye.